Good morning, Gabrielle. How
Good
are you?
morning. I'm well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. So today we want to actually explain the closing day in a little bit deeper conversation.
Okay.
Buyer and seller made it through all the contingencies. We have a date all set, and we are there.
We're ready to close.
We are ready to go. We are ready to close.
Okay.
Got to clear to
Yes.
close
Beautiful.
and
Beautiful.
so big word.
Yes,
clear to
yes,
close.
yes. The best 3 words in real estate,
That's
right?
right,
When you
that's
hear
right.
that, clear to close. Yeah. So I guess the number one thing that I would point out that in this day and age where we can do so much electronically, real estate closings are one thing we cannot do electronically. So plan to be physically present at the closing. Now, there is one exception where if a buyer is cash, there's not really any notarized documents that buyer has to sign. So they're sort of the one exception that actually can sign electronically. But as a seller, there are always going to be documents that you need to sign that are going to have to be notarized, most notably the deed.
Mm-hmm.
So you, in order to deed over your property, you will have to wet sign, have a notary, have witnesses. That's not to say that you have to be in our office or whoever's doing the closings office, because most title companies can send a notary to you, but you will have to physically be present to sign. So that's a question that I get a lot. Well, can't I just sign electronically? So no, you can't. So
Okay.
just prepare for that. And then I would say the second biggest thing is that as a buyer, the only way to send your funds for closing is to wire them.
Yeah.
So I get that question sometimes too. Can I
Yeah.
bring a check? What about a cashier's check? When you're making your deposit, there's a little more leeway. When it's time for closing, and this is any title company, it has to be through wire transfer, and that's just for security reasons and to make sure that the day of closing, everything actually is closed. Seller gets their money, buyer gets their keys. And as far as the process, usually as the title company, we work with the agents and with the buyer and seller to schedule everyone. The closing process doesn't take very long, depending on if there's big, there's a lot of documents to sign, sometimes for mortgages. So if there's a mortgage involved, that signing will usually take a little longer. We usually say 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how many questions you have. Seller documents are fairly quick. Again, we usually say maybe 20 minutes, depending on how many questions you have. So all you really need to prepare is to have a form of photo ID. If you're the buyer, make sure that you wire your funds, and then, the agents normally take care of walkthrough and everything, but generally your day of closing will be, go to the property, do a walkthrough, make sure that everything is good to go, come in, sign your documents, everybody gets paid, and you're done. So I don't know if there's anything else, questions that you get that you want to hit on, but I think those are kind of the biggest that I get.
I do have a question, because we just talked about this the other day. It says, so buyer gets the key when funded.
Correct.
Funding. What does funding mean?
So funding means we have all of the money as the title company, as the neutral party that's ready to disperse it to everyone. And if there's a mortgage involved, that's a great question, because a lot of times the lender will send us the money and we'll have the money, but we have to wait for authorization from the lender to release any of that money. What that entails usually is we sign all the documents with the buyer, and then we send them to the lender, and the lender checks over everything to make sure they have everything they need. And then at that point, they'll say to us, okay, everything looks good, you can go ahead and release the money. The reason, that the real estate agents usually choose to wait for that is because, heaven forbid, a document was missed, or the lender said, oh, wait, we didn't send you this, we need it signed, before we can release any money. So basically, when we have all the money and any lender involved says, okay, you're good to sign, and everyone has signed their documents, seller has to sign, buyer has to sign, we have to have all the money, because, sometimes people will say, well, I know the wire's not in yet, but can I just have my money? But if we don't have the money yet, we can't disperse that money. So yes.
And you said an important word, the title needs to receive the money.
Correct.
So there is sometimes misconception about what means who gets funded. Because if we're closing on a Friday, title has the money, so it is funded. All documents have been signed by seller and buyer. The buyer can get the keys and can move in.
That is at the realtor's discretion usually, but general practice is yes.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that the seller has their money, because at that point,
Right.
we're at the mercy of the Federal Reserve. How backed up are they? How long are they taking? But it's basically when we know everybody's gonna get their money because we have all of the documents and we are ready to give you your check, give you your check, give you your check. You know, the rest is just a matter of actually sending the money out.
Yeah.
But as long as we have the money and authorized to release it, that's what we consider the transaction being funded, because at that point we can go ahead and send everyone's money out.
Perfect. So I thank you so much, Gabrielle, as always.
Yes.
I hope this helps. I think this is always a very, very important detail to touch on. And questions, just send them to us, reach out to us. Happy to help and connect you with Gabrielle and myself. And I see you next Monday. Bye.
Have a great week.
Bye. Thank you.